Hello,
Okay.
welcome.
Great.
Hello. Happy to connect
Wonderful.
with you finally. Just makes us
Thanks for
realize how.
persevering.
No, thank you for everyone's patience and apologies for the delay.
I'm just going to
Okay.
hand it straight over to you, Sister Janti, and you can introduce yourself better than anybody.
Well, thank you. And I don't think I need to go into any formal introductions. I think the most important thing is the subject. And I've just had this little experience of how mind matters. And matter doesn't always function according to what our mind is saying. But if the mind stays cool and peaceful, then matter begins to cooperate. So thank you for everyone's patience. Um, can I suggest we start with just a moment of silence? Maybe that would be appropriate at this moment. Just taking a deep breath and going inwards, connecting with that inner being that I truly am, a being of peace. And in this awareness of my true identity, I come back again to the physical dimension. And yes, I'm ready to begin. I just want to illustrate firstly very simple things about mind and the impact on the physical body, which is actually matter. Even though it's a living organism, it's made up of the earth, the air, the water, the fire, the ether. All of that is what our body is composed of, never mind the proteins and carbohydrates and whatever else. But in classical terms in India, they would use these expressions that matter would be earth, air, water, fire, and space. And so that is who I am physically, but it doesn't say anything about who I am as a person, as that inner being. And just a few examples of mind impacting matter, whether we want it to or not. Perhaps you recall as a child, or if you have a child now, have you seen how when the child is feeling a little bit upset, a little bit angry maybe, something's not going as the child wants, then probably the first thing they'll say to their parents is, I don't want to eat. I don't feel like eating. And it's true that probably in that condition of mind, whatever they eat isn't going to be digested properly. And so the instinctive response is, I don't feel like eating. I don't want to eat. And so my digestion is being impacted by the mind. Another thing, what happens when you're feeling afraid? Your breathing changes, right? Many other changes happen within the physiology, but one thing you can notice is immediately your breathing changes. Everything was okay, but you suddenly see a snake coming in through the little crack in the door at the bottom, and it's slithering, and you're paralyzed. And so the body isn't functioning as it should, but your breathing shifts, it changes. And I want to describe also two experiences that I've had in terms of physical health. I remember a time when I'd been in Brazil and I got sick, and for 4 days I was out of action. I was given an injection by a doctor, a medical doctor, who was also part of the Brahma Kumaris community there. And he would give me an injection, drive me to the program, speak for an hour, drive back again, and the injection would wear off after 2 hours. And I asked him, what is this? I've never had this type of fever and this type of illness before. And he said, it's a virus. And I said, is that the term doctors use when they don't know what it is, when there isn't a diagnosis? And he laughed and he said, sometimes. I spoke to a very famous doctor back in Scotland, and his name was Dr. Jan de Vries, and he's now passed away. But he was exceptional because he could also he had his degrees and everything, but he also knew Chinese medicine. And he explained something very interesting to me. He said that viruses have always been around, but because we no longer have the immunity that we used to have, we get impacted by viruses. And he said we've lost our immunity. And the reason we've lost our immunity is because water, air, food, all of it is polluted. And no matter how hard we try, still living in this physical dimension, to a certain extent or another, we get impacted. But the most important thing is that our immunity is impacted by our mind. And because the mind has very often lost hope in today's world, our immunity has decreased. And he said that the things that you all are doing, meditation and so forth, is the perfect way to increase your immunity, because meditation restores hope in the human heart, and so the immunity is increased as a result of that. And so definitely mind and matter are very intensely connected. Another little story. I was in San Francisco, and the sister who was driving was just beside me, and we shouldn't have got into intense conversation, but we did. And in San Francisco, the fog comes down suddenly, which it did. And she saw a car just ahead with its blinkers flashing. But what she didn't realize was that she was so close that actually we weren't going too fast, but there was an impact. And long story, but I needed 14 stitches here because I bit my lip in that accident, in that jerk. And the doctor told me I had to keep completely still because it was a face and he couldn't give me anesthesia for that. And so I meditated on the point of light here, detached from the body, so that the body would be able to tolerate the pain of the needle going in and out. And probably now there are more advanced techniques, I'm not sure, but this was some years ago. And I could feel the needle going through the suture, being pulled and out again. And I was fine. And afterwards he said to me, "Are you a meditator?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "I could feel it." That was on the Friday. And on the Monday, I was supposed to be in Los Angeles for a television program. And I thought, shall I cancel? And I thought, let me wait till Monday morning. And Monday morning, I was able to go back to the hospital, have the sutures out. The healing had happened, and the doctor was a bit surprised. Normally it should take at least 4 days, but it's taken just 2 days. And he said, "Well, you're a meditator." I said, "Yes, but I also think that the purification of the body with vegetarian diet and things like this may also have helped." And he paused and said, "You think so?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he just smiled. But yes, I was able to go to LA. I was able to do my program. And the only thing that the TV host said when she saw me first was, "Have you had a bit of a cold? It seems that your lips are a little bit swollen." And I said, "Yes, it's been not just a cold, but something a bit more, but I'm glad I'm fine now." So healing that should take a minimum of 4 days can happen in 2 days, my practical experience. So I've just given you a few illustrations of how mind and body work together and how definitely there can be that impact in that way. So how do I go about making sure I have this mind and body balance right? And in fact, I would suggest that it's not just a question of a balance. It's a little bit more than that. it's a question of prioritization. And the priority in this case would be mind. And then matter. Why? Because the mind can exist without the existence of the physical body. But the physical body cannot exist without the entry of the soul that brings the mind with it into the body. You know, when a mother feels the quickening in her tummy, well, that's when the soul has actually now entered the fetus, and so there is life, and she feels that life. The life forces the soul. And if you think about electricity, and you have that energy, that flow, and then you can use that energy for many different things. You can use it to create warmth, a heater. You can use it to create cold, the air conditioning. You can use it to cook. You can use it for any number of things, amplification of sound, lots of different things. But that energy is the same energy, electricity. In the same way, the soul, a tiny, tiny point of energy, luminous energy, light. And this energy, when I'm creating thoughts, I use the word mind. Or even when I'm impacted by feelings and emotions, I use the word heart. And so, yes, the physical heart is here, and I can feel it thumping away, but it's actually a pumping machine, and no more, no less than that. But the feelings that I experience are within the soul itself. And so the label heart could well be applied there in that case. Then there's another aspect, and at a particular time, what I might be doing is just analyzing the information I have, throwing out what is not useful, retaining what is useful, and on the basis of the information I have, I keep that as important knowledge that is useful for me. And I use that knowledge in my reasoning, in my understanding, even in terms of decision making. When my conscience comes into play, it's the same energy, this inner being that I am. But now I'm using the word conscience, or I'm using the word reason, different terms. In Hindi, we would call it buddhi, which translated as intellect, but intellectual is something else. But this energy is that same energy of conscience, of reason, of logic, of understanding, even retention. And then there are certain instincts that I have, habits that I've created that come into play at certain times. I'm predisposed to react in a certain way. And all of that has happened because there are certain experiences that I've been through that I hold within myself. And these, when they're triggered, will create my thoughts and my words and actions. And so even this is programmed within me, within the inner being, the soul. And so mind is one aspect of this inner being. But if I ask the question, where do thoughts come from? It's not coming from out there. I might think it's coming from out there, but it's actually coming from deep down within. 3 people witness the similar situation. And if you ask them to report back to you, what did you see? What did you hear? I have no doubt at all. Each one will give you a very different experience of what it is they saw and heard. And so, how did that happen? The input from outside was the same, but their responses and their thinking and their speaking was very different. And it happened because the predispositions, the viewpoint that I hold inside, the perspective that I hold inside is determining everything that I see and hear now. And so I have to be very, very aware that what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is not actually as it is, but it's coming through a filter that I carry within myself. So all of this impacts my body very definitely. When I have good thoughts, noble thoughts, my heart feels elevated, and things that were maybe out of sync in the body begin to settle and stabilize. Maybe I see somebody who I love, and there's a physiological response, not just a mental and emotional and spiritual response, but a physiological response also. Equally, I see someone I don't like, and instinctively I'll see if I can turn left or right, then head straight for them. So our instincts are governed by what's our experience, and the experience is recorded within my inner world, and my body then reacts and responds in a way that's appropriate. Definitely, it's the mind that comes first rather than the body. And if I keep my body strong and healthy by exercise and all sorts of things, that's great. Please do carry on and do that. But you've also seen that on an external physical level, somebody might be very strong and healthy, and then they succumb to a threatening illness, a life-threatening illness maybe. And I won't go into too much detail of that, because I want to focus on how it is we can repair the body, how it is we can make the body, even if it's not so well, strong and healthy again. And yes, rest is important, the right food is important, all of those things are important. And I can determine all of those things within my own physical awareness in my life. But most of all, the important thing is, am I able to care for my mind and make my mind healthy and strong so that it can cope with whether it's COVID-19 that's come my way or it's post-COVID and I'm having to deal with the aftermath of that, maybe the finances that have gone awry, maybe having to spend more time with relatives that I haven't been able to see, haven't been able to meet. So post-COVID, there's going to be a whole era in which we're going to have to adjust and alter and navigate life back to whatever is the new normal. And if my mind is strong, then I have the resilience to be able to bounce back and things will be okay. How do I make my mind strong? Well, I know that if I have pure thoughts, good thoughts, I feel strength within me. And if I have negative thoughts, weak thoughts, there's a weakness that enters my physiology. And definitely there's going to be less immunity. There's going to be more possibility of all sorts of viruses coming to me or bacteria coming. All sorts of things can go wrong. Is it possible to have nothing but pure thoughts, nothing but good thoughts? I want to share another story. And it's a story of a woman who I knew most of my life. I knew her for 62 years. And her name was Dadi Janki. And she passed away exactly a month ago yesterday. And she was at that time the wonderful young age of 104. And it's not that she'd been healthy all her life. In the period of time that I knew her, I saw her nearly leave about 5 times. And so this time also when she was unwell, and I happened to be in India, and I'm still in India because of the lockdown, But she had stayed in London for 40 years and traveled the globe many, many, many times, including time in Australia several times. So it isn't that she was a sort of health addict and kept her body healthy. No, it was a very fragile body. But she had a very interesting formula. She would say that 5% medication, 45% blessings, and 50% the help of the divine. So the medicine, yes, whatever medication you need to take, please take it. But blessings. How do I earn the blessings of all those around me? If I've served people with love, without any desire of return, and I don't use the word altruistic because actually if I've done a good deed, the return is going to come back to me in some form or another at some time or another. But what will happen is that if I've served somebody without any expectation of return from them, I'm doing it just out of love, out of compassion. If I do this, then I still get something. I get the happiness in my heart that I've used my time in a worthwhile way, but also what I get back from them is blessings. If somebody's done you a good turn and they don't want anything physical in return for that, then what you do is you give them your good wishes, you give them the blessings from your heart. So her life was constantly of doing good for others. And so 45% blessings. And then the help of the divine. And then, of course, yes, if I've created that relationship through meditation, through yoga means union. And so the physical exercises are actually a preparation to allow the body to be calm and still so that then the mind can be free. And so this is why most people who've done Hatha Yoga will know that at the end of the session, there's always the Shavasana in which you're not just relaxing the body then, but you're allowing the mind to move to a higher dimension. But yoga, the word itself means union. And so when I have that experience of communion, union with the divine, then yes, I receive that love, that spiritual power that actually translates into healing power for the body also. And so until the end of January, this lady was still traveling. And last year, 103, she traveled from India to Dubai, to Nairobi, to London, to Houston, to New York, and back to London and India. Then she did another little journey, and that was to London and Barcelona. And then she didn't come back to her home in Mount Abu in India, but she went on another little tour in India before coming back home. So we're talking about a lady who had very fragile health, but who had a heart that had boundless love and unlimited energy to serve. And so she did that right till the end of January. And then, yes, February, she was out of action. And then we saw her fly away with a lot of peace. My point, the mind is able to rule matter. And I'm not sure if anyone listening and seeing has reached 100. But if you're in your 80s or 90s, it's okay. Carry on, carry on. There's plenty more that you can do. And if you're young, great. You now know the way to keep your body strong by making the mind very strong and healthy. You know, a person like the biologist and now philosopher, Dr. Bruce Lipton, he wrote the book, The Biology of Belief. And I won't share his story, but ultimately what he said within that was, whatever is in your genes is fine, but whatever it is you do will determine what it is that triggers the manifestation of that gene to be expressed, or if you're doing things differently, then what you're doing is suppressing that gene, repressing that gene, so that it doesn't manifest in a physical form. So yes, I know health and genes are deeply connected, but I also know this for a fact, that environment, atmosphere, feelings, awareness, consciousness, all of that can either repress or allow that gene to be expressed. If I have very pure thoughts connected with truth, and I'll give a very simple example of what I mean by that. In the awareness of my physical identity, the things that govern my consciousness are position, possessions, people, all of these things. Position, well, today I have a chair and I'm called the managing director. Well, let me remember that there have probably been 50 people before me who sat on this chair and carried that title and that name. Where are they now? Who knows? So today I occupy this chair and this position. And so, yes, I have that title, that position, but how long am I going to hold that position? I never know. Possessions. I have lots of things today. Tomorrow, I have no idea whether I'll still have them. People come into my life, and I don't know whether they're going to stay with me for a year, or a month, or 10 years, or a lifetime. And so it's very, very flexible. And I can't say what's going to happen with any of these things. And if my identity is based on these things, I'm going to have a problem, because none of these things are permanent. They come and they go. What is permanent is what I carry inside myself. And if I come back to that identity of the inner being, now this is what really matters. And so when I come to that awareness of who I am, and I feed my mind powerful, pure thoughts based on truth, thoughts related to my own inner qualities of peace, love, truth, joy, purity, then I have inner power, and these qualities vibrate through my body and heal the body and make the body strong. I'm aware that probably it's time now for the next phase. There are two things that I think we would like to do. One is to spend a little bit more time in meditation, like we did just for a minute at the start, but maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and also see if there are any questions. And I'm not sure which one to take first. Stephen, perhaps you can tell me.
I think we might. Thank you very much, and that was a lovely end there. And I think the meditation is a fantastic idea. One question that we've come through is, when the mind keeps singing the same song or similar method to clean the mind so it becomes strong.
It's true. Sometimes it's a broken record, not just the same song, but it's a broken record that's getting stuck at a particular point again and again and again. At that moment, don't pursue that line of thinking. Remind yourself of the inner being, find a place to sit, and then focus here. Not on the skin, but deep, deep, deep down inside in your forehead. And what you'll find is that you're coming to...
I think her internet signal's just frozen, has it?
Yeah, I was hoping that wasn't me, but it sounds like it is Janti.
It's forced meditation early.
Let's hope everybody just use the power of your thoughts. It's saying that she was timed out, maybe. No, I don't think so. All right. So let's hope that Sister Janti comes on. There is a couple of other questions that are happening. I'm sure that there was many points that touched you. And if you could just give us what some of your key take-homes are and type them into the chat. What are the take-homes from today? And Heidi, what were some of your take-homes so far?
Oh, there was so much in that already, and I just love her calm, peaceful, gracious presence. I loved when she explained that the soul is the life force and that the feelings I have come from within the soul. I thought that was beautiful. Her stories were amazing, and hearing about Daddy Janki. One of the things that really interested me as well, being someone who is vegetarian, is she talked a bit about how vegetarianism and immunity go hand in hand. And I'd be curious to hear more about that at some stage. But also just that whole concept, and I love Bruce Lipton's work as well, so it was great to hear Bruce Lipton discussed. But that whole idea of weak thoughts equals weak physiology, and that, you know, what happens in the mind happens in the body as well. So yeah, I thought that was all very reinforcing of what we hear, and loved her stories and illustrations and perspectives. So anyone else, what were your takeaways already from just that today? And that whole idea of strong body, strong mind, strong soul.
So Patricia is saying meditation restores the immunity. Just 1 minute.
That might be her.
Sister Janti.
So feel free to pop in the chat box, everyone. What were your key takeaways from the session? And if you do have a question, please still pop that in, even though we've lost her for now. Please still pop that in, because we are hoping to try and get Sister Janti back right now, but we're also hoping to invite her back for our closing ceremony, which will be Monday, Australian time next week, for our closing ceremony. How are you going, Stephen? I mean, he looks like he's trying to get her on. He looks busy.
Yes.
Jenny Lee Taylor, I was intrigued that the soul comes in at the quickening during pregnancy. I know, that was fascinating. Yeah, and that a mother can feel when that soul enters. Priyani saying inner being defines your identity. Oh, isn't that magical? That's like something to put on the top of your mirror to remind you every day. Yeah.
So Sister Janti is just trying to sign back in again.
She doesn't have the same problem.
Well, she did. She did. So
the frequency is too high. Low frequency technology.
Oh, wow, that's great. Rosemary, I definitely experienced the soul entering the body at the quickening.
Wow, that's amazing, Rosemary. Thank you for sharing. Not to be attached to people, possessions and position, because they don't know how long they'll stay, yes. And on the Facebook group, if I quickly shoot across over there, we've got comments. Obvious connection between thoughts and immunity. We need to leverage this and internalize with everything we're doing at this time. I'll just make sure she hasn't jumped into the attendee list. No,
I'm just keeping an eye on her. Yeah, no, not yet. Interesting. Michelle Crawford is saying she had goosebumps and truth bumps. I like that.
Oh, truth bumps. We love truth bumps. What else? What did others take away? I know there's like 100 of you here online, so there must be others. I think she's
okay. All right. I'll do that. Thank you. Bye. So we're having some further technical difficulties. So okay. Sister Janti asked me to do the closing meditation.
Lovely.
So it'll be my pleasure to do that. Have we got any other points just on closing to go through there before we finish up?
No, we've got that Rosemary said her takeaway is that focus and determination will overcome everything. And since starting meditation, her health has improved. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Kashish is saying spiritual power is like healing power. Yeah, allows the mind to move to a higher dimension. Hope increases in the immune system. Yes, so many great takeaways. We're so blessed and privileged to have had Sister Janti on. And sorry for the technical issues, but let's hand over to you, Stephen. Our next speaker, as we said, Richard Clayton, will start just after the hour. So let's close out with a meditation.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. I noticed that we had people from Australia, Turkey, the UK, India, Bahrain, Philippines, US, Sri Lanka, Germany, Austria, Zambia, Malaysia, and the Middle East. So thank you, everybody, from wherever you've come from. And for adding to today's summit session. So let's just close in the next 3 minutes with a meditation, and just inviting you to just softly to close your eyes. And as Sister Janti said, just focusing on yourself as that tiny point of light at the center of the forehead. That is you, the life force. Just allow yourself to feel yourself fully as this living being of energy that has been in this body from the quickening. And just feel that light that is you, that contains an immense treasure store of spiritual powers, virtues, qualities, values. And in this stillness, I'm allowing those spiritual powers to rise to the top, to be at the forefront of my mind. And just allow yourself to realize the impact that these thoughts in the last couple of minutes, this meditation, is having on your physical body. Just notice whether your breath has started to slow down, whether the tension in your shoulders has become a little bit less. Just showing us the impact of our consciousness on our physiology. We can grab these small moments of stillness at any time throughout the day to create a sense of equilibrium in our physical body. And just allow yourself to feel the peace that is your original nature, the very core of who you are. It's stronger than any past memories. It's a power. Just allow that peace to spill through every cell, through every tissue, through every organ, through every bone in your body, and out into the atmosphere, into your room, into your community. And just slightly and slowly open your eyes and just hold on to that experience of peace. Just softly look at the world around you, feeling that peace emanating from your eyes, the windows to the soul. So thank you for joining us on today's Superhuman Summit. For those who haven't been to our Facebook page, Facebook group, the Superhuman Summit, this recording will be there. We have also put a number of links in the chat box, some further information about Sister Janti. We've also put them up on the Facebook group. We also put a little video there about Daddy Janki, the 104-year-old companion of Sister Janti for over 60 years, and we've put a link to that on the Facebook Facebook group as well. So thank you, and coming up next, AJ?
Is Richard Clayton, as I said, and he's talking about the death of Superman, which is interesting. Thank you all so much for signing in from all around the world. Thank you, Stephen, for that beautiful, nice meditation at the end there to kind of seal our practice and our communing together. May you take that beautiful divine energy with you throughout your day ahead. We still have another 6 days of the summit. You can sign up for free. Michelle Crawford, my fellow co-facilitator and creator from Human Power, and I have put this on completely free. All of the speakers and people just like Stephen here are all speaking for free, as well as our gift to humanity. This is the time for all of us to come together, to unite and to share our combined energy for the planet and for each other and for humanity. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you on some of our other speakers and calls. Bye for now, everyone. Peace out, bro.